This week, I was following that channel Black Gnostic Speaks, which is that guy from the Black Sphere over in the United States. And then he started hammering on this idea that there are a lot of simps who still say no. You can try to find a decent woman in Asia, in Russia, right? They say in Asia and Eastern Europe that women there are still traditional or whatever. And he started looking up statistics. He did a couple of really long live streams talking about it with the guys to break it down. For Americans, there's this idea that no, the whole single mother thing is just a black community issue in the United States. No, it's already spread to their white community. It's already in the Latino community too. And it's something that's spreading globally. And then he went after the statistics showing that Latin America leads the world in the percentage of single mothers relative to the population. Then you have Europe is right there in second place, and then there are some regions like Africa, Asia, and Russia where there's still some stigma, there are still some penalties for women who are single mothers, whether those are financial, governmental, or social penalties. And then I ended up remembering those posts from Fox, where Fox says that by 2030, abortion will be legalized here in Brazil. This will probably happen through the discourse of the so-called conservative right, since the conservative right just loves to bash men, right? Then they'll say that men are the ones being trash, that they're not taking care of women, they're not taking responsibility for their kids, and the poor women, they're having their careers and studies harmed because of unwanted pregnancies, and that this is outrageous, that we have to do something about it. So probably by 2030, since now with the election of Bolsonaro's little right-wing government, we've already seen that there's basically no difference at all. Between the left and the right, they're going to end up legalizing abortion by 2030. And then one of the shocking statistics is, I can't remember if it was 90% or 85% of the children born in Colombia are children to single mothers. They're kids who are born out of wedlock. And I remember there's an old video by Stefan Molyneux. It's been a while. It must be from 2017, 2016, 2015, where he pulled up statistics showing that something like 60% to 70% of children born in Latin America are children of single mothers. And we all know the consequences of that anyway, but that's not what I want to talk about in this video. But here's the thing. I think in Brazil, it's at 35%. And we know that since 2010, it started to drop a lot. Birth rates and the whole single mother thing in Brazil also started spreading to the upper classes. And we know there's regionalism, there are big differences in birth rates and the number of single mothers in Brazil, depending on the state and the region where people live. And then Fox said, I think the national number is something like that. It's about 35% of the children born in the country are children of single mothers. And Fox was saying, no, man, by 2030, it's going to double. It's going to double. It's going to reach about 65% of children born in Brazil, all of them children of single mothers. We know that this burden gets pushed onto the state through laws, welfare programs, and so on. And it's also being pushed onto private companies through things like Planet 50/50 and the 2030 Agenda. And then it's that thing Fox was talking about. That's how it is. 35% of births are from single mothers. It's already putting a strain on the state. When it hits 65%, no government will be able to handle it. Then they'll get pragmatic, probably regardless of whether the right or the left is in power. They'll end up just going ahead and legalizing abortion. But anyway, I'm not really keeping up with YouTube. I just stay in my own corner, writing my book, and making my videos whenever I feel like it. Actually, I've been going quite a while without making any videos. And then I was thinking, man, these people who are still lost on YouTube, they're still trying to restore tradition, right? Traditionalism, families, and all that stuff. Man, society, it's already made its choice. Society has already chosen to do away with traditionalism. There's even a video by Olavo. Back then, I even shared a really short clip of it on my channel where he said the following. He said that in Rome and other societies after the Middle Ages, with the serfs, you always had a caste of serfs or a caste of slaves. This caste of serfs, of slaves, they didn't have families. There's no legacy, nothing at all. Like he said there, nobody knew who the father of the children was. Get it? It was just a gathering, nothing more. When he talked about Rome, about the slaves, he said, man, they'd gathered them up in a coliseum like Americana Stadium and put all the slaves there, all just to have sex, throw an orgy, and screw it. And apparently, right, this thing, especially from the last 150 years, it's basically what these guys want to do with. Not just the West, right? They're trying to sink their claws into Asia too and do the same thing. These guys just want to wipe out families among the lower classes. And we know that the number of divorces and single mothers is, for the most part, among the lower classes, but it's spreading to the higher ones too. And these guys want society to just become one big mass of slaves. A big mass of slaves with no family, no husband, no wife. There are no kids, or if there are, nobody knows whose they are. It's just a bunch of slaves thrown together, and everyone sleeps with everyone else. That's basically what these guys want to turn society into. And I don't see any reaction from the public. People in general are just accepting it. Most people don't have any values, they just react to their environment. It's all monkey see, monkey do, right? It's only the people from a slightly higher social class or those who come from a somewhat more religious family with some values who are left. They're shocked by all this and want to do something about it. But anyway, society has made its choice, and something I even mentioned on Twitter is this, man. For example, we talk about the problem of the breakdown of the family, the sexual revolution, sexual liberation, and all that, but if you analyze it coldly, there are costs, and the benefits of sexual liberation. The cost benefit of sexual liberation. Let's talk about the benefits first. The benefit is this: society chose to become what it is today. The benefit is that you, as a man in today's society, you have the opportunity to have way more sexual partners than your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, or your great-great-grandfather ever had. Right? You can go out and have sex with them, get involved with them, without having to marry them, without having to support them financially. That's the benefit. Because back in the day, to have a partner, it was that lifelong monogamy. You had to support the woman, and you had to stick with just one woman. And the masses, the population, they saw that as something wrong and chose what we're living today, right? So there's that benefit. It's like this: why do men, have to go out and really take advantage of these modern sluts? Using condoms, getting a vasectomy, not getting married, not living together, not having kids, none of that. Because if you stop to think about it, men are paying taxes for this. We know that the taxes we pay to the government mostly go to benefits, and in many cases, even exclusively to women. For women, and now we're also seeing it go to like single mothers, to kids born out of wedlock, to women who have children outside of marriage. So it's like this: guys are going to want to shame you. Oh, but you're sleeping with sluts and all that, right? I'm not talking about myself. I've been celibate for a long time. But for the normies out there, the normies who don't want to get married, don't want to have kids, NGTO doesn't even need to be mentioned anymore. It's just a scapegoat. Most guys are already acting like MGTOW anyway. But guys can just say, look, I'm not going to get married, I'm not going to have kids, I'm not going to live together because I don't want to support a woman because I'm already paying taxes to support women. And since we're already paying taxes to support them, a guy should just go out and have a bunch of casual relationships, right? At most, just date, never get married, never have kids, never live together, so you don't end up supporting them even more so. So society chose this, if you think about it. You get a mass of people with no value at all. Screw tradition, right? We used to have that old system where a guy would have one or maybe a couple of partners throughout his life, right? And he had to support that partner and the woman. She stayed at home taking care of things, and he had to support the woman, support the kids, but then people just decided, no, we're not going to do that anymore. And now we have this modern free-for-all, and like I said, the benefit is that a guy can have a bunch of partners and doesn't have to commit to any of them, and because of that, we have the consequence, and that consequence is this society. So now, with a bunch of single moms, and we have no idea where that's going to lead. Now it's basically time to just grab a soda, some popcorn, and watch the show, right? And why am I saying this? Because I barely follow any of it. on YouTube, but there are still some folks on YouTube acting like POAs, acting like MRAs, trying to be activists, trying to still have some kind of relationship with women, trying to negotiate with them. You know the definition of insanity? Trying to do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result? That's it. These guys are still trying to negotiate with women. It's been going on for a century. And they don't want to negotiate anything. They don't want to give up anything. In fact, they want more and more. And we still have the pickup artists and all that. So, like, it's like an avalanche, a ridiculous waste of time on YouTube because these guys are still fighting for the old system, which is the system of marriage and family and all that. When in reality, society from the top down, the masses, the majority of the population has already chosen this new system, man. They've already chosen this new system. Like, look, the majority of the population is going to be a bunch of slaves. There won't be families anymore. There will be a bunch of kids, and nobody knows who the father is. You get it? These women, these kids, they're going to get money from the government for real. And it's that thing. Look, you're paying taxes to keep this going, so at the very least, you should take advantage and get some exposeta. You know, since you're paying anyway, society has already chosen this. You get it? Now all that's left is to watch and see what happens next. But the main thing for the people who are still worried about society, worried about women, let's talk about something serious now. You only need to worry about, man, you only need to take care of something that belongs to you, right? If it belongs to you, then you need to worry about it. You need to take care of it. You need to maintain it. Because it belongs to you, you have control over it. You have authority over it, right? When we consider modern women, the families that still exist, and their children, right? Society, from top to bottom, the state has already decided the following. Woman, she no longer belongs to her husband, right? Moreover, for a man to try to exert any control over her, in some cases even taking care of her, is violence. It's domestic violence, it's psychological violence. So women no longer belong to men. Men don't have to worry about them or try to take care of them, right? Women, in this sense, are public property. They belong to the state, and they chose to belong to the state. And does anyone actually take care of something that's public property? Something that belongs to the state? No, man. People just go there and try to get as much out of it as they can. And we can see that's exactly how women are being treated. And they chose to be treated this way. They didn't want to have that family, just one sexual partner, that husband they had to submit to, because that was considered abuse. But being a state-owned slut isn't abuse, right? So, if you stop to think about it, really, guys basically have to treat them like public restrooms? You just go there, whip it out, do what you gotta do, and move on with your life. You're not gonna worry about it. Like, oh my god, is anyone gonna take care of that public restroom afterward? No. And they chose this? And then let's go further. The kids. Society decided that the kids belong to the woman, so she can do whatever she wants with them. The man is just the sucker who keeps paying the bills, supporting them, so if he doesn't want to end up in jail because the state doesn't want to support them, so it wants to stick the bill on men. But the state already sticks the bill on men from both sides. We've got a bunch of divorced women. Then, like in Imisel's case, she doesn't want to say who the father is, she just wants to get money from the state. But in the case of a divorced woman, she gets alimony from the guy. I'm not going to say husband, because a lot of times it's just from a relationship, not even marriage. She gets alimony from the guy. In some cases, there was a division of assets and she was actually married to him. And even then, she still gets money from the state. You get it? So the sucker who got involved with her and had a kid with her, he's paying for that relationship. But all the other men in society are also paying, through taxes, for the services they're getting. So just like women, the difference is that women chose to belong to the state. They chose to become public property, right? For the guys to consume. But the kids didn't choose that. But it's the women who chose to turn the kids into state property too. And do you think those guys are going to care? They're not going to care. They belong to the state, man. Let the state deal with it, you know? Take care of them. That's the modern mentality. Are they going to do anything to change it? I don't know. I don't think so. Because if you stop to think about it, the cost benefit, the masses, it's all just a bunch of slaves. Bunch of slaves to their libido, right? Just like Viking says, for the masses, things are good right now. The guy is always able to hook up with some random chick. He has several partners throughout his life, there's variety, something that didn't exist in the past. At most, he'll just pay some taxes. Let's say the guy pays 40% in taxes. The guy stays single, manages to find a woman to sleep with whenever he wants, and pays 40% in taxes to keep the system going, right? How was it in the old system? In the old system, the guy was there, married to his wife and with kids. I think it was what? It was a fifth of the. No, it was a fifth or 2/5 of his salary. That was what he got to keep, right? 3/5, 4/5 went just to the wife and the kids. And if you stop to think about the cost benefit, for these guys, it's actually worth it. They have sexual variety, they have a place of their own where they don't have to deal with the wife and kids making noise, bothering them, and so on. He pays taxes to keep supporting all these women. Of course, the guys who don't have the looks to take advantage of this, those guys are going to start getting pissed. And society is going to start hammering them, saying these guys are terrorists, they're psychopaths, whatever. But they have a reason to be pissed, because they're paying to keep up a system they can't even benefit from. Only the more attractive guys are able to benefit from it. I'm not just talking about the top guys. At least some guys, like a 6 or above, they can manage. If a guy has a job so he can go out and have a few drinks with a woman, he can enjoy it. So, of course, there's a bunch of men who, in the old system, still had some chance. And in the new system, they have no chance at all. We could say this is, I don't know, what was the term again? I forgot what the term is, but it's that term, it's some kind of genetic supremacism, right? Some kind of eugenics. That was the term I was looking for. But again, it's more a matter of society choosing this. Both the people at the top, in the government and all that, and the masses of workers, they simply chose this. So let's go. Just like I said, the women belong to the state, they chose to belong to the state. You don't have to worry about them anymore, you don't have to take care of them anymore, they're the ones who have to handle the kids. Unfortunately, it was the women who made that decision, and the government too. The children belong to the state, and so do the women. If it's not yours, you can't control it, you can't take care of it, you have no authority over the family, over the woman or the children, you just have to let it go, man. And finally, the people who say, oh, let's save the West, society, whatever. Man, look at the decisions society has made. Look at the environment that society has created for you. And of course, I'm also talking about culture, right? These cultural changes over the last centuries. But the laws, because culture is like a little bicycle. It's something that moves forward little by little. The laws, man, the laws are like a turbocharged car. When you get to it, and like the guys go there and implement a law, let's say, for example, divorce law, abortion law, the Maria de Pena law, I don't know, child support laws, and so on. These laws, while culture, I don't know, culture is like a little breeze, a wind coming down the mountain, you know? Laws are like a snowball at the top that rolls down, getting bigger and bigger, and when it reaches the bottom, it's an avalanche, you know? So those people say, no, we have to change the culture. Man, start with the law. Culture is like a little nail, but the law is the hammer that really makes an impact. Because the majority of the population doesn't care about values. They don't care about culture. Most people have much more basic, immediate needs. People live in their environment. And culture, we could say that in part it played a role 2 centuries ago, but the main thing is the laws, man. The biggest, most drastic changes really started in the 1960s and 1970s. That's what had the biggest impact on most of the population and on the lower classes. Because, like I said, these people don't have values. Religion doesn't exist anymore. Tradition, puff. It's all about environment. It's environment and laws, and the environment and the laws created this situation. A situation that, like, for all practical purposes, you don't have a family anymore. Women and children belong to the state. Get it? And men don't have to worry anymore. They don't have to take care of women and children because they're already paying taxes to the state. So now women and children are the state's responsibility. They chose this. And in the same way, we can conclude the following: society doesn't belong to you anymore, man. You're just another little cog in the machine. Right? You as a man, you were made to work, pay taxes, keep society running, just being another little cog in the machine. But you don't have any decision making power anymore. You don't have any decision making power in your family. You don't have any decision making power at all. With the women you get involved with, reproductive freedom. You don't have, and you won't have, any say over your kids if you still happen to be dumb enough to have kids these days. So, for all intents and purposes, if you look at it politically, most of the electorate is women, right? Politics, government, and the media only care about women. Like, if a woman starts complaining about something, oh my god, it's a catastrophe. But when you have a bunch of men getting thrown in jail for child support, a bunch of homeless guys, nobody cares. Even when it comes to violence statistics, people who die because of violence, most of them are men, nobody gives a damn. So, for all intents and purposes, just like that, family doesn't belong to you anymore. Women, kids, none of that belongs to you anymore. Society as a whole doesn't belong to you anymore either. So, guys like that, they don't have to worry about it, right? We're supposed to take care of things, supposed to keep society going. Man, society doesn't belong to us anymore. The people in society have already made that decision. That you as a man are just a little cog in the machine. You just have to work, produce, and that's it. Nobody cares about your problems. Nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares about your desires, your needs. You're just another little cog in the machine. And just like I said in the other cases, man, if you don't have control over something, you're basically on this boat called society. You don't have control over anything. You don't have any decision-making power, zero authority. Right? And everyone else on that boat who isn't one of the guys running things, they don't care about those men at all. Man, just let it go. If it doesn't belong to you, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to try to save anything. You don't have to take care of anything because it's not yours. In the same way, women don't want men to take care of them. They want the state. And those kids who are going to be raised by single moms, man, if there's even one who knows who their dad is or whatever, who's most likely going to be chosen? They're going to choose the woman in the state, especially with the indoctrination system they have in schools. You get it? So, man, it's like this. You're just on a boat. You're just on a boat, and what they want is for you to take care of the maintenance of that boat and all that. But what you want, where this boat is headed, like, who cares? They don't give a damn about you. So you don't need to rack your brain over it. You don't need to worry about that then. Right? That's just how society is. If men still had any authority in society, then they'd have to worry about society. If men still had any authority in their relationships with the women they're with and with their children, then they'd have to worry about their family, right? But from the moment you no longer have control over anything, no longer have any authority over anything, it doesn't belong to you anymore. If something doesn't belong to you, you don't have to take care of it. You don't have to stress about it. You don't have to worry. You don't have to do anything about it. You simply cut down your interactions to basically only those where you don't have to keep sacrificing for the thing. You don't have to keep maintaining it. You don't have to keep supporting it because that whole role has already been outsourced too. And we can see the following. The guys who are still worried about the boat, right? About the boat called society, about family, tradition, and all that, the little traditionalists. What's happened to these guys in recent years? For example, I'm talking about PragerU, that YouTube channel that even TFM did hours of responses to. And I'm also using as an example, I can't remember the author's name, that guy from the book Libido Dominandi, who's the editor-in-chief of the Culture Wars magazine. People who are more familiar with these topics will know who I'm talking about. But in general, you know, the tradcons, the little Templars, right? Guys, we have to save the women, we have to save the West and all that. These guys who are still worried about society, who still have these values, these traditions, and so on, who want to take care of women, children, and society, etc. These guys nowadays, they're being labeled as hate speech. Hate speech, you know? Both the leftist guys and women in general, even right wing and left wing women who are more liberated, various organized groups are aggressively attacking these guys and are labeling their content as dangerous hate speech. You get it, so that's how it is. Even those who are still concerned about women and children. About society, my friend. Women have decided they don't want you taking care of them. They want the state, and they want public money so they can be free, light, and easy, doing whatever they want with their lives without having to deal with a man at home. Children are being raised by them exclusively to behave the same way. And society as a whole, both at the top in government and among the general population, doesn't care at all about family, religion, or tradition. People are just acting like animals, reacting to their environment and living in the moment. For all intents and purposes, society, the whole population, has chosen to get rid of the old system of monogamy, family, and so on. And they chose this current system, right? Polygamy, promiscuity, you get it? Every kid belongs to the state. It's the state that's going to take care of them, and the women too. Everything belongs to the state. So the conclusion I want you to take from this video is this, man. They belong to the state. They're a public resource. And you don't need to worry or stress out about public resources. Public resource. You go there, use it, move on with your life, and let the next person have their turn.